드려요. 한국 바로 알리기에
함께 해주세요.
어서 오세요. 오셨네.
Welcome to Arirang News Special of Inauguration Day 2025. We're bringing you special live coverage of newly elected President Lee Jae-myung's visit to the National Cemetery. I'm Song Yu-jin in Seoul. Now, for more insights on today's event and what lies ahead on President Lee Jae-myung's first day, we are joined in the studio by first Choi Hyun-jin, Associate Professor of Political Science at Kyung University. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And to my left, I have Professor Song Se-ryun, Professor of Law, also at Kyung University. Thank you for joining us.
Happy to join you. Thank you.
All right. So once again, we are bringing you special live coverage of President Lee Jae-myung's first official engagement as the President of South Korea. That is his visit and paying tribute at the National Cemetery. So you're currently seeing live feeds right now on your screen. And what it seems like is that the President and the First Lady is being congratulated by his neighbors outside of his private residence in Gyeonggu District. So, professors, what are your thoughts on this live feed that we're seeing right now?
Yeah, so this is the first morning of the new president, and welcomed by the resident in the hometown of President Lee Jae-myung. So I think there are several steps for the new president on the first day. The first one is the National Election Commission officially confirmed the winner of the election.
Right.
And right after that, I guess the President Lee Jae-myung received a phone call from the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff. And then after the phone call, he leaves the house, and now it's on way to National Cemetery.
Right. So once again, you are seeing live footage of President Lee Jae-myung and the First Lady stepping out of their private residence in Incheon City's Gyeonggu District on their way to the National Cemetery in Seoul's Dongjak-gu District. Now, Professor Song, Professor Che also mentioned that one of the first schedules of President Lee Jae-myung was a phone call with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So I want to ask you, is this schedule something that the previous presidents have also done normally in their first day?
Well, the important matters and issues dealt with, I think that there are many concerns that this by-election has produced, but I think the security is a very important matter and also urgent matter because of the North Korea's elevation of their aggression and participation in foreign wars. So I think it's a reasonable step to take and very important step. I think that it gives a little bit of reassurance that the priority, at least, is in the right place in that regard.
Right, and I think that we will bring you more details on the president's phone call with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. But to give you a brief sum up, President Lee emphasized maintaining watertight state of readiness while monitoring North Korea's movements, and also based on South Korea and U.S. combined defense posture. So once again, what you're seeing right now is, I think, an aerial footage of President Lee Jae-myung's private residence in Gyeonggu District in the city of Incheon. Now, I want to move on to why the president has chosen his first official engagement as the new leader of South Korea by visiting the National Cemetery. So, Professor Che, starting off, could you please tell us, for our international viewers who might not be familiar, what the National Cemetery is and what kind of significance it holds here in Korea?
The Seoul National Cemetery is much more than a simple burial place. So it is a very sacred place in the hearts of many South Korean people. And this is where we honor those who sacrificed their life for the defense and development of our country, such as soldiers and independent fighters during the Japanese colonial era, and other patriots who gave everything for this nation. And today, we have about 177,000 people buried there. And when a newly elected president visits this place, the National Cemetery, it's not just a formality, it's a powerful symbol. And the visit shows respect for the people who protected the nation. And it also serves as a personal commitment by the president to protect and serve the country, just like the heroes who are buried there. And also it is especially meaningful in our country like Korea, where the memory of the Korean War still shapes our national identity. Right. By paying tribute at the cemetery, the new leader shows a deep awareness of the sacrifice made in the past. And this is a promise to avoid future tragedies as well. And therefore, to many Korean people, this moment can be somehow meaningful, emotional, and also unifying. And the reminding leadership is not just about political power, but about service and duty to the Korean people, and as well as to history.
Right, so it is a very symbolic place for South Korean history and also for South Korea as a country.
Yes.
All right, so to our viewers, if you are just tuning in, you are watching Arirang special live coverage of newly elected President Lee Jae-myung's first day in office. We are going to show you the president's journey from his private residence in Incheon City, Gyeonggu District, to the Seoul National Cemetery in Dongjaku District. So, Professor Song, I'm looking at the footage right now. I think that the president will soon step into his motorcade and move to the cemetery, right?
Right. He's going to be moving to the National Cemetery, as Professor Che pointed out, that it's a hallowed ground because of the relatively recent history of war and the Japanese occupation. This nation is literally built upon those sacrifices that we made. So I think the visit there symbolizes that it adds to the legitimacy that he has. Not only he won the election, but he's reporting to those heroes and the patriots, saying that, new president reporting for duty, right? So those kind of symbolic gesture, I think, is well received. And I think that because it's a cemetery, I like to point out that, when you visit any cemetery, I think that you feel that there is a fleetness of life. And as for the power too, power itself is also fleeting. So I think that the humility and the kind of leadership he has to exercise, not the oppressive one, not the dictator ones that we once experienced, but a democratic one, and fully in mind that there is a limit to it and there's a moderation he has to exercise. I think that should be a powerful message as well.
Right. So you're currently seeing footage of President Lee Jae-myung's motorcade having just departed from his private residence in Incheon City. Now, as we mentioned before, the president will now be heading to the Seoul National Cemetery, where he will pay tribute to the fallen heroes. So as we wait until the president arrives at the National Cemetery, back to Professor Song, many past presidents here in South Korea began their first official day with a visit here at the National Cemetery. So I'm pretty sure that there must be a good reason behind that. So I want to ask you, what message does that send, and why is this tradition so consistent?
Well, it's consistent because the first day of presidency, it has to send the right message. I think we're going back to the hallowed ground, the legitimacy, but also it sends a message of national unity. I mean, the buried there are not just one-sided ideologically liberals or conservatives. Both are there. So he's going to be the president for not only the liberals, but also the conservatives, but for the national history and also the whole notion of what Korea is. I think that is a powerful message to send, especially on the first day. Only question is whether he will follow it up throughout his presidency. But I think that he's making committing to right actions and right messages. So I think that today it's a celebration of having a president finally after 60 days of not having presidents, and we experienced the acting president. But I hope this is a back to normalcy and a right steps to go back to what Korea should be. And in terms of functioning government, I hope we have the right leadership that makes a kind of balanced actions and decisions.
Definitely. And echoing on what you said, I think a lot of people here in Korea, they have been emphasizing that they want a leader who could really unify the country again, because there have been many comments, not only from experts, but also from numerous media outlets, that South Korea is currently divided, some even expressing it as being polarized.
Right. Mr. Lee Jae-myung has been criticized as a divisive figure, but he also is a very pragmatic figure and has a little bit of a populist tint to it. I mean, being a populist is negative, but it also has a connotation that he will listen to people. So right combination of that could make it a pretty apt leadership at this point, especially because we have the consolidated power at the legislature on the liberal side, the president on the liberal side. So it has its risks, but it kind of reduces the causes for squabbling or infighting. So I think the moderation all around could have a good impact going forward. So I hope today it's a hopeful scenario.
Fingers crossed now. Now to you, Professor Choi, and to our live footage, we are again seeing President Lee Jae-myung on his way to pay tribute to the National Cemetery. I think that we are seeing a lot of cars or motorcades, should I call it? So are they part of the presidential security team or the security force?
Oh yeah, there's a security service for the new president. Yeah, so maybe in the middle of the tonight, the President Lee became the new president, right? Right after that, now the official security service for the new president began. So this is the highest level of security for the new president. Yeah.
All right, and talking about what the president will actually do once he arrives at the National Cemetery, for our viewers who are unfamiliar with the formalities and the process, Professor Che, what does the president's visit typically involve? What are some key ceremonial steps at this whole National Cemetery?
Yes, as I said earlier, there's some long, meaningful and important tradition in South Korea. So new president received a phone call from the Joint Chief of Staff, right? And there is a short briefing on the security situation of South Korea. So this is an important step that shows the new president is now responsible for national security. And then the next step is the visit to Seoul National Cemetery. So, so this visit usually takes place before before the inauguration ceremony. So at the cemetery, the new president pays tribute at the Memorial Tower. There's a very symbolic tower in the Seoul National Cemetery. And this is a most symbolic site in the cemetery.
Oh.
The Memorial Tower honors those who gave their life for the country, and including those whose remains were never recovered in the past. So this is a very sacred and respectable place. So in some cases, some presidents also visit the graves of a former president.
Right.
So there is graveyard for 4 former presidents in the Seoul National Cemetery. But however, this is a day for the inauguration, right? So when the inauguration is held on the same day, they usually go straight to the National Assembly after paying respect at the Memorial Tower. So this process, right, Memorial Tower and going to National Assembly reflects both the tradition and also responsibility of the new president. So it shows that the new leader is now ready to serve the country with respect for the sacrifice of those who came before.
Right. For those of you who are just tuning in, you're watching Arirang special live coverage of President Lee Jae-myung's visit to the Seoul National Cemetery. We originally expected about 30 or 40 minutes for the motorcade to depart from President Lee's private residence in Incheon City and arriving at the Seoul National Cemetery. Professor Song, as far as what I can see on the screen, I think that there is a road control is being implemented. What do you think?
Well, that's one of the perks of the president.
Right.
All the signal light it's turning to green all of a sudden.
Right.
And of course, we're waiting for him to arrive in the National Cemetery and then begin the kind of a passage, rite of passage to become the president. Of course, he already started his work. It's going to be like this for the duration of his term.
5 years.
Right. So I hope that it's not going to be too inconvenient, not to badmouth the former president, but when the President Yoon was in the city, whenever he goes anywhere, there was a blockage. But this time around, probably that would not be an factor, especially when he moves into the Blue House that he said he would. So I think it's some of the things that the people in Seoul has been accustomed to, and probably will experience those kind of motorcades quite often.
And expanding on what you just mentioned, Professor Song, there have been many speculations and a lot of curiosity towards where the new president, now President Lee, will choose as his official presidential residence and his presidential office. So could you please share your insights or thoughts on that too?
I think there is a little bit of question mark as well, but he did say that he planned to go back to the Blue House when the reparation is done. But until that time, the only place he can move into is the Yongsan place. So I think he will start his work as a president there, but when the repair is done, he'll move to the Blue House. But the little bit of a question mark is he also said that he will move to the Sejong City.
Right, Sejong City.
So whether he will move there in terms of presidency residency over there, or he would just split his time in the Blue House and the Sejong satellite office. That's remained to be seen. But the indication seems to be that once the preparation is done, Yongsan presidential, the palace days is over.
And to provide a bit more of a context for our viewers, Sejong City is considered the administrative capital of South Korea because a lot of government complexes and ministries are located there, right, Professor?
Right. And what's a little bit telling is that all the presidential candidates has pledged that they will move their office to Sejong City. And also there was a talk about moving the National Assembly there. So the long time often discussed plan to have a administrative capital of Korea moving to Sejong City. It's remained to be seen, but whether it will happen in this term as Lee Jae-myung as a president. But it would be very, very interesting because it has a lot of implications, not only having the power center in Sejong City, but that implicates the kind of balanced development of different cities other than Seoul. Seoul is so congested with the economic center and political center and all those. So I think that could be a accomplishments or the final coming of this discussion that started decades and decades ago. So I think it's a very interesting question as well.
We'll have to keep an eye on that. Once again, we are watching President Lee Jae-myung's motorcade on its way to the Seoul National Cemetery, where he will pay tribute to the fallen heroes. Now, a major move or activity that the past presidents have done at the National Cemetery is writing a message in the cemetery log, Professor Che. So I want to ask you, what kind of message do you expect from President Lee when he writes this message down on the cemetery log?
Yes, that's a tricky question because I don't know, what message will be written by President Lee. But the handwritten message in the guest book is usually very short, but still very powerful and also meaningful. And therefore, the people pay close attention to the message in the guest book. So it is often the first message of the new president, the message that shares with the public, right? So it can give us some clues about their priorities and also leadership style. So in the past, the president have written some hopeful and forward-looking messages. For example, President Park Geun-hye wrote about change and reform.
Right.
And also President Moon Jae-in promised to be a reliable president for a proper country. And the former President Yoon Suk-yeol spoke about unity and prosperity. And today, I expect the new president, Lee Jae-myung, will focus on my prediction, the national unity. Because South Korea experienced a political crisis, right? There was a declaration of martial law last December. And since then, the South Korean society has been deeply divided. And there's high levels of distrust between some different factions of Korean people. And so the new leader, I expect, will likely send a message that brings people together. And also, President Lee emphasized the unity several times during campaign, also this morning as well. We may also see a message about the economic situation. And many people are struggling right now, and the people want to see a leadership that can overcome the current economic crisis, because the South Korea and also many countries are struggling this economic slowdown in the middle of some tariff policies by the new Trump administration. And the Bank of Korea expects that our growth rate will go below 1%. And therefore, I expect some message about the revival of the economy. So short and strong message of hope, unity, and recovery would be well received by the Korean people.
So Professor Che chose hope, unity, and recovery.
Yeah.
And then I would like to ask the same question to you, Professor Song. What do you expect?
Well, sorry to disappoint you, but I kind of joined that sentiment. I think the best message that is well-rounded and very urgent is a national unity, especially because the country is so evenly divided. I mean, the President Lee received a little bit over 49%.
Right.
And if you tally up the conservative side, it's just about the same figure. So a very much evenly divided country. And the presidential campaigns were blooded with a lot of attacks on either side. And that kind of division is something that the president has to address. So I think the short message, probably he cannot contain many complex messages. So national unity probably is a good one, urgent one, and a very good message for the first day.
It needs to be short and sweet.
Right.
Right. And that kind of reminds me of the victory speech that President Lee gave very early in the morning, addressing the public in front of the National Assembly. And I also felt that the key words that he kind of emphasized were going together and then unifying the country. So is that also what you thought, Professor Song? What do you think?
Yes, national unity, especially the beginning of the presidency, is a very important message. However, all the presidents have sounded just about the same. National unity, and the presidents, many presidents went about the business the next day attacking each other, especially very disappointingly recent presidents. So I hope this time it's going to be different, because it is a very urgent task that Korea has because of all the difficult issues that we face economically, security-wise, and also politically. So I think that the President Lee Jae-myung is well advised to implement not only selecting people, selecting policies, and implementing some of the key messages that he delivered in the campaign period to very loudly indicate that he is very serious about the national unity and bringing people together. I think that that would be a very good move, especially very distinguishable from the recent mistakes that the Korean presidents had.
So delivering his promises and living up to his campaign pledges.
Right. I mean, keeping the promises is always important. But because the President Lee Jae-myung has been criticized for flip-flopping policies before, I think this is a very good opportunity to kind of fix that, the bias and notion.
Absolutely. Then, Professor Chia, I also like to ask and hear your take on what you made of President Lee's victory speech early this morning.
Victory speech early this morning.
In front of the National Assembly, addressing the public.
Yeah, so I expect the new president, so the new speech, so to highlight some several key themes in his new speech. So first, I think the president will likely talk about need to overcome some economic crisis. So the President Lee many times emphasized that overcoming this economic crisis is the most important priority for the new government. So many Koreans, as I said earlier, they are struggling with the rising prices and also weak job market and slowing growth. So reviving the economy will be a top priority, and it will be emphasized in his speech later at the National Assembly. And the second, as I emphasized earlier, national unity is a very important message. Our society has been deeply divided, and especially after a political crisis last December. So some people and also politicians compare this situation even to civil war. Right? So we need a new leadership to overcome this internal crisis. So the President Lee Jae-myung, during his later speech at the National Assembly, will likely call on all Koreans to come together, work through difference, and rebuild the trust between different factions of people. So in addition, I also expect to hear some ideas about long-term reform, such as some constitutional change, such as introducing four-year term and the re-election.
That was a really big issue leading up to the election.
Really big issue, right? So I'm expecting to hear something about this constitutional reform during his speech. And also, there are also efforts to reform the judiciary and also prosecution service. So these are very sensitive issues. However, anyway, these are also important issues that could shape South Korea's future political system. And also another theme might be about North Korea. As we all know, for almost 2 years, there has been little communication between the two Korea, right? And also the Kim Jong-un said that Kim Jong-un emphasized that North Korea will not pursue unification anymore, right? And also there has been some close cooperation between North Korea and Russia during the Ukraine war. So the president may send, so in this situation, may send some message to Pyongyang expressing some willingness to restart dialogue with Pyongyang, but also making clear, but also I think the new president should make clear that the peace must be based on some mutual responsibility and also denuclearization of North Korea. So I expect to hear some message about inter-Korean relation and rebuilding, restarting dialogue with Pyongyang. So in short, I believe the speech will focus on, as I said, the economy, unity, reform, and also North Korea. So setting the tone for the new administration's policy goals.
A lot to look forward to. So for our viewers who are just tuning in, you are watching Arirang's special live coverage of Inauguration Day 2025. What you're seeing right now is our live footage of President Lee Jae-myung inside his motorcade, having departed from his private residence in Incheon City on his way to the Seoul National Cemetery in Dongjaku District. Now, as we wait for the president to arrive at the National Cemetery, I want to talk a bit more about the general picture of this election, the 21st presidential election. So starting with you, Professor Song, this election drew a voter turnout of 79.4%, which is the highest in almost 3 decades, 28 years to be accurate. So I want to ask you, how do you interpret that figure?
Well, that figure is a good figure in a sense that it shows the political engagement of Korean people. I mean, close to 80%. It's a remarkable achievement, I think, that people are interested and also very engaged in the political process. Although the high figure has some indication that it is high because it's right after the martial law declaration. So there was a crisis-driven kind of urgency that people felt. And also, there is a kind of legitimacy issues that people felt, and probably evenly divided nature of the Korean politics. Both sides were mobilized to vote, and remarkably, as we talked about, the figure, the evenly divided ones, it's not very different from the previous elections. So there's a voting of inertia. That voting just about the same pattern as before has shown. So in terms of changes that people are looking for, probably not there. But I think another key distinction in this one is Mr. Lee Jun-suk having not as ambitious percentage. He was talking about the 15%, 10%, but he stopped at 8.4%. However, he dominated in the 20s and 30s generation. Right. So there was a kind of a glimpse of the future politics there, and the change of generations, the change of guards may be coming. Maybe not in the person of Lee Jun-suk, but I think the general trend is a little bit set there. So I think there's an implication that this one is a start of a change in Korean politics, which we awaited for a long time. So that kind of implications in this election campaign is very significant if you find kind of a silver lining. I think that this kind of political engagement should continue, not only in the presidential politics, but also general elections, to see what kind of balancing that we could achieve going forward.
And maybe we could soon hit the magic number of 80%.
Right. I mean, that's not out of the big expectation, because the rate has been going up. Right. And the young people have been a kind of a problematic generation where they don't really vote well. But it seems like it's kind of catching up, and they're more interested in the politics. And that, if that continues, I think the magic number probably next time.
A very hopeful sign. So we are learning that President Lee will soon arrive at this whole national cemetery. It seems like he's almost there near the area in Dongjakgu district. I think he just arrived at the national cemetery because I think this is the entrance, right, Professor Che?
Yes, this is the entrance to National Cemetery. So when he enters and arrive at the, in front of the memorial tower, and he will be welcomed by some people. And when he visits the National Cemetery, the President Lee Jae-myung will be accompanied by some key figures from his party, and also the campaign team. So I expect that the key figures will include some senior members, such as the party's floor leader, Park Chan-dae, and also the Secretary General, Kim Min-seok. And for example, the Kim Min-seok is now a strong candidate for the new Prime Minister right now. And also lawmakers who worked very hard during the campaign. And also the high-ranking members of the election committee, like co-chairs or senior advisors, they also they expect to attend and join President Lee Jae-myung. And you know, the Democratic Party has now more than 170 lawmakers. There are lots of lawmakers. So it is not possible for everyone to come to this place and join President Lee Jae-myung.
Right.
So that means there's usually a few selected lawmakers will join this ceremony. And these individuals at this site are often people who are expected to have a major roles
in the
new government, right? And so the people, that is the public and the media, will often closely look at who is included and who is missing.
Right. No matter this is who accompanies the president at the National Cemetery is a great point of interest.
Yeah, right. So we will find out, you know, who are included and who are missing right now. So this visit is not just symbolic. It also shows early signs of the president's leadership style and the political team he may build.
Right, and I think we are indeed seeing President Lee stepping out of his motorcade. He has stepped the ground of the Seoul National Cemetery in Dongjakgu district. He is currently shaking hands with those who have been waiting for him at the National Cemetery. We are expecting him to walk over and then pay tribute at the Memorial Tower and also write a message at the cemetery log, which has also been drawing great attention whenever the previous presidents of Korea did so. So we are currently seeing President Lee and First Lady Kim in the middle, right, Professor Seol?
Right. And commenting on what we were talking about, I mean, we are very keenly interested in who is in the picture.
Right.
Because if somebody's in the picture, that means he's close to the president. And this is because we didn't have the transition period.
Right.
It's a snap election, by-election. So the president has to hit the ground running the very moment that he was declared the winner. So we didn't have time to see who's coming up and who's being kind of spotlighted as the very close allies or close to the power center. So we have to resort to the pictures and images that we see as a kind of indication that the person is of prominence and close to president physically at this point, distance-wise, may indicate that he's going to be taking on a bigger role in governing the country.
Right, and we are seeing the president and the first lady and his those who are accompanying him currently walking inside the National Cemetery. Once again, in Seoul's Dongjakgu district, we are expecting him to lay flowers and also pay tribute at the Memorial Tower, which is, of course, inside the National Cemetery. But I think that they are first paying Pledge of Allegiance to the national flag, right, Professor? Paying respect to the flag, national flag, should I say?
Yes, yeah, they are now paying respect to the national flag, and they are now walking toward the Memorial Tower. And this memorial tower, there is a message of former President Park Chung-hee written on the stone before this memorial tower. And also this memorial tower is a very sacred place in the Seoul National Cemetery. And there are also some names of those people who are, whose remains were never recovered after the Korean War and also Vietnam War. So this is a very sacred place in the hearts of many Korean people.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And Professor Choi, I also want to ask you, we are seeing some people accompanying the president right now as he is moving towards the memorial tower. Any familiar faces that you recognize?
Yeah, so...
It's quite hard to see right now because...
Yes, the First Lady, Kim Hae-kyung, and also, as I said, there's Park Chan-dae, the floor leader of the new ruling party, and I think the Park Chan-dae will play a very important role in the new administration. And also, I can see some figures of high-ranking, election committee leaders of the President Lee Jae-myung. And one interesting point is there's no many lawmakers.
Right.
Yeah, the reason is there's so many lawmakers, right? So I think it is hard to choose, who will join this ceremony. So there are no many lawmakers at this scene.
Okay, I think President Lee is going to pay tribute, which is part of his very important schedule, his first engagement as the new president of South Korea. It seems like he is laying incense, right, Professor Song?
Right. The first day in the National Assembly, the image is very presidential. I mean, if he was just the leader of the opposition party, before now, he's creating some images of a president of Korea. This is calculated, of course, but it has a lot of meaning to it, and I think this will kind of have the mental image among the people that now, oh, he is the president of Korea.
Right.
And he's doing the presidential things and bowing down even in front of people. Probably it's a good thing that he doesn't have many people around it because he wants to be highlighted and he's a center of attention. And as a president, he alone stands out at this point. So if it's a stage direction, I think it's a good one because becoming a president by a snap election is a very daunting and very difficult shoe to step into. But this kind of image-ridden kind of signal and also the optically the presidential scene, I think it will help his building up his presidential image.
What you're seeing right now on the screen is President Lee Jae-myung and First Lady Kim Hae-kyung paying tribute at the Seoul National Cemetery, currently observing a moment of silence. Now, very briefly, Professor Song, I'd like to ask you, you mentioned how President Lee was elected through a snap election. So I think a lot of people wanted to clarify, what precise moment did the title president legally take effect?
Well, at 6:21, I think, that's when he became the president. And he became the president right after the National Election Committee announced the result of the election and declared him a winner. So banging on the gavel at that point became the kind of moment when he officially became the president. So if it was a regular election, he would have the transition team and the inauguration day and the ceremony. But the snap election is, as the term says,
you start your job right away.
Yeah, go ahead. You're the president.
All right, so we just saw President Lee laying flowers and incense at the Memorial Tower. It seems like he will soon head over to another area and sign the cemetery log, right, Professor Che?
So what kind of law?
A cemetery log, so what we call 방명록 in Korean.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so, right. So he will, yes, it's usually the new president writes a short and strong message in the guestbook message, right? So did he write a message?
Not yet. I think he is
right?
currently moving over to the place where he will write the message.
Yeah. So I'm expecting a message about some, as I said earlier, the unity of the Korean people, right? So this is a very short and powerful message, and this is the first message of the new president, the Korean people, and this is a very symbolic and also shows the direction of the new administration.
Right.
So let's see what he's going to write on the guest book.
Has picked up his pen. He is right now signing the cemetery log, the guest message book. He has just written "A world we live together." I think this was a message that was echoed during his very late night address when he delivered his victory speech in front of the public, in front of the National Assembly. He has also written "A country where the people are in charge of." And then he is currently writing "A country where the citizens or the people are happy." The term citizens and people are being repeated over and over and now.
Right. This is the longest guest book writing
Right,
that I've
as far
seen.
as I can remember.
He has a lot to say at this point.
And the final line says he will make this and make this all come true together with the people. He has written the date, which is June 4th, 2025. And I think he is going to write his name after writing the 21st President of the Republic of Korea. There you have it. He has written down his name right now. As Professor Song mentioned, probably by far the longest cemetery log message that a new president of Korea has written. So I think that this wraps up the official schedule at the National Cemetery. We are currently seeing footage that's being taken outside the main gate of the National Cemetery. So I guess next off, he will head to the National Assembly to attend the inauguration ceremony.
Yeah.
Right. So before we wrap up, starting with you, Professor Song, what did you make of today's National Cemetery visit by newly elected President Lee Jae-myung?
Certainly, we expected that the first president, the new president, would visit the National Assembly, and we talked about the meaning and the symbolic significance to it. He kind of passed it, the flying colors. Not much difficulty there, but what we come away with is that we now have the president.
Right.
And maybe this is a step towards the normalcy. No matter how divided the country is, having a president at the top is very important. And he sent the message of, as we predicted, national unity. And I hope that his policies and the picking of people in charge of many different areas will reflect the national unity, not only just, being very, very centered on his own people or ideology. I think that his first few actions will tell very loudly what kind of presidency, what kind of leadership he will exercise in 5 years. I think that this is a celebration for the Korean people, not only because we have a president, but if you look back 6 months ago, I mean, the country was very much in the question mark. I mean, martial law, is democracy in Korea jeopardized? Or what kind of chaos or what kind of confusion would we experience? But looking back, we had a very orderly the elections and preparations, and the Mr. Lee Jae-myung, with pretty significant legitimacy, has become the president. He didn't go over 50%, but very close to it.
Right, 49.4%?
That's right. So, it's roughly 50%. So that kind of legitimacy is a very big boost to new presidency that he's embarking on. I think that people have more confidence in Korean democracy, and so should the world leaders. And they're looking at Korea, and if they had any question marks, here you go. The democratically elected president doing the usual things that Korean presidents do on the first day. And that should be, because it's not out of the ordinary,
Right.
it should be very assuring and confidence building.
It's a start of a very ambitious and hopeful 5-year term. And now to you, Professor Che. Now that President Lee's 5-year term has officially begun and he has completed his first official engagement as the newly elected president of South Korea, what direction do you expect the new president to emphasize in his first few weeks in office? A lot of eyes are on him.
Yeah, there's many important agenda in the first few weeks. First of all, the economy. South Korea is now facing a serious economic crisis, and the trade tension triggered by the new Trump administration's the tariff policy have shaken the global trading system. And without strong leadership in South Korea, our government have struggled to respond to this crisis made by the Trump administration. So on top of that, economic slowdown is hurting people. So our growth rate has dropped below 1%. So reviving the economy will be the president's top priority. And also, I think he will focus on this issue in the early weeks in office. And the second, and for this, he promised that he will, his first job will be to create emergency economic task force. And I think this task force will play a very important role in the first weeks of his new administration because the national cabinet is not ready yet. It's still in the process of a leadership change. And the second, the political divide in South Korea has become very deep. And some people even compare it to a civil war situation. So I think the new administration in the earlier weeks must work very hard to bring people together. So healing this divide and restoring trust between citizens will be a major challenge. And the third, relation with the United States. The Trump administration is expected to demand more from South Korea, especially on trade, defense costs, and also American troops in South Korea. And that's why it is so important to build a strong communication with Washington as soon as possible. And also President Lee must assign our most talented officials to manage U.S.-South Korea relations early on. So in short, the new president must act very quickly to stabilize the economy, unite the country, and also skillfully manage our relation with Washington as soon as possible.
He indeed has a lot on his plate. Now, we only have a couple of minutes left. I want to ask my last question to you, Professor Song. Soon, the inauguration ceremony of President Lee will begin. We are expecting the ceremony to be quite modest when compared to that of President Yoon Suk-yeol. What's your take on this?
Right. Yoon Suk-yeol was a regular presidency, which involved a lot of planning that they could do. But this is, again, the snap election, and he has to get to work. I mean, as Professor Chen mentioned, there are a lot on his plate. So this kind of pump and the parties, you cannot really spend much time on it.
Right.
He's going to have the task of selecting people, putting people to task.
Right.
And I think the one good thing about Korea is that we have a pretty good technocrats and the civil servants group, so he can trust the kind of usual expertise that they can do.
And we will keep an eye on that. And that concludes our special coverage of newly elected President Lee Jae-myung's first official event, which was paying tribute at the National Cemetery. Thank you so much, Professor Song, for coming in. And also thank you so much, Professor Che.
Thank you very much.
And to our viewers, thank you for tuning in from the early hours. Coming up is our special coverage of President Lee's inauguration ceremony. The live coverage will begin at 10:40 a.m. Korea time, and the ceremony will begin at 11 a.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.
How to survive in Korea. Workplace. Step 1. Lunchtime. The most important morning routine is to check today's menu. Food is essential for survival. Memorize today's menu. The highlight of office life. Lunchtime. Rice in the bottom left, soup in the bottom right. The top is for the sides. The sauce and the spoon go here. This is the basic layout, but it's a bit odd to switch rice and soup. When you're done, pour the leftovers into the soup bowl. It doesn't look that appetizing, so wait until others are done eating. Step 2. Neng, nep, nenep. These are the most used expressions at work. Choose the most appropriate form. Neng, nep, nenep. Remember that the formal ne can sound a bit stiff. Did you just say yes? Absolutely not acceptable. You want to find the right word for the right occasion. Step 3. Desteria. Desteria is the oasis in the desert. Show them your character. If you're not the diligent type, get a stooky plant. Work is tough. Laugh and the whole world laughs with you. Weep and you weep alone. Stay put, like the stooky that survives in the desert. Hang in there until the end. Of course, you can always quit. You matter more than anything else. Step 4. Survival kit. Every worker needs a survival kit. Survival kit level 1. This position gets the most exposure. Grab one when you need a sugar boost. Always keep a few treats you can offer your co-workers. Survival kit level 2. These are for hunger pangs before and after a meal. You'll need them when you take a coffee break with your office buddies. Survival kit level 3. Trash talking your boss with your soulmate. Did you survive in the workplace? Office romance? Be careful. Even the photocopier knows all the gossip.
Welcome to the Globalists. Welcome to the Globalists. Welcome to the Globalists. We're in a new set, a brand new set.
I am a globalist. And I'm the globalist.
And I'm the globalist who wants to bring junk right into your kitchen.
How to survive in Korea. Weddings. Step 0. Attire. As a guest, dress formal to business casual. Avoid wearing all white, shorts or going topless. Step 1. Arrival time. Arrive 30 minutes